name is Tony Mattar. I'm a church planter in the city of Seattle, planted a church called Venture Seattle.
This is Dr. Brandon Beals. My wife and I are the founding and lead pastors at Venture Church in the Seattle area, and you are listening to Pastors Unfiltered.
We're having all night revival.
Hey everyone, welcome to Pastors Unfiltered. I'm your co-host, Pastor Tony Mattar, joined by my lovely co-host back in the studio from, I actually don't even know where you were, Brandon Lee Beals. How are you today, doctor?
Doing good. I'd like to point out that I'm wearing my Dick's Drive-In hat that I was given as a gift. It also has a Sasquatch on it. You can't beat it. In staff meeting, Tony, Morgan Butcher gave me Dick's Drive-In sunglasses. So in honor of Morgan, I'm going to pull a David Diaz and wear glasses indoors.
David does the hat half on backwards.
So I don't know if that will work.
That
Should I do
hat
it?
really, there you go. That hat really is you though. It's Sasquatch and it's
Dick's.
Dick's Drive-In.
It's like,
It's you.
Can't get over how much it is me.
Hey, before we move forward and talk about today, we have a lot we need to chat through. Why is there a boot sitting on this desk? What's the purpose of this?
So on Sunday, answering another one of the questions, I'm preaching at church, just sent you out and all the other campus pastors the message. And one of my opening illustrations is I'm talking about my dog Ozzy and how my favorite pair of cowboy boots he destroyed. Here they are. So if you want to know if I'm telling the truth, here's proof.
When will you publicly declare that your dogs are the worst dogs on the planet?
They just can't surpass your old dog.
They have outdone him and they have done wonders compared to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, PB, it's been a while since you and I have chatted and talked. Let's fill in each other on a couple things. Number one, have you watched Fantastic Four?
I did.
Okay. And you've watched Superman.
You're not going to wear the hat on in the David Diaz style? I think this is our thing today. We're in honor of David Diaz.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess we're in a frat now.
So, yeah. So first off, what did you think of Fantastic Four?
I'll be honest, I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was as good as Superman, and let me tell you why. I thought the character development was kind of weak. And it felt like very formulaic superhero movie. Big bad, how are we going to beat him? We eventually beat him. It felt very formulaic, where Superman was incredible. Everything about Superman was amazing.
Yeah, I actually agree with you, but for different reasons. I liked Fantastic Four. It was fine. I've actually talked to people. I've had some people in some of my small groups that it's like their favorite MCU movie in years, favorite superhero movie in years. I thought it was good. It was entertaining. I wasn't disappointed. I liked Superman better, and I didn't think I was going to like Superman. I just, once Crypto Dog, Super Dog came in, I was just won over by Superman. Superman was more fun. That's
really
what I would
was.
say. But I did like Fantastic Four, so it's not a negative. Still, by far, the best movie of the last few years is F1.
I've yet to watch F1.
It's just so good. Have you seen Happy Gilmore 2 yet?
I watched Happy Gilmore 2.
What did you think?
Now, listen, I watched Happy Gilmore probably 10 times since pre-Jesus days and even post-Jesus days.
I've seen Happy Gilmore 50 times.
It's Adam's some of his best work.
Well, Waterboy's his best movie, but this is definitely number 2.
Yeah. I didn't hate it. I didn't have a reason to hate it. Listen, it's a Netflix movie. What are you expecting? It's not going to be as good as Happy Gilmore 1.
It wasn't going to be an Academy Award nominee.
No, and he knows that.
The best, I heard a reviewer say it this way. He said, why people are complaining about Happy Gilmore 2 are people that go into AM/PM and order a hot dog and expect it to taste like a steak from El Gaucho.
No, you can't.
No, you're ordering an AM/PM hot dog. You're getting an AM/PM hot dog.
So you know that the reason why Adam Sandler's making tons of Netflix movies, right? He signed this mega contract with them that he has to do like 20 movies or something like that for them.
He has a deal with them that he gets to do 3 movies for him and 1 for them. So he does 3 like popcorny movies that are cheesy gets all of his friends in. And then he does 1 like that basketball movie.
That was a good movie.
Or like Hidden Gems or whatever.
Uncut Gems was not, but it was good. It was not Netflix, but it was good.
Uncut Gems is the most anxiety-inducing movie I've ever watched my entire life.
Yes.
He should have won an Academy Award for that movie. It was
the most-
really
I know,
incredible.
it was, and the ending is wild.
I did really love the basketball recruiter movie.
That was great.
I thought that
No,
was pretty awesome.
I thought it was good. As a golfer, I saw all the guys in the movie. I don't think golfers can act, so I don't think they needed.
He had over 70 cameos. So this tells you how
Yeah.
popular Adam Sandler is, that he got all of these people from famous golfers, wrestlers, athletes, musicians, actors to all come in and be in his stupid movie
Yeah,
that is
it
going to be
was-
panned by critics. And I laughed hysterically the whole time. I can't wait to watch it again.
I laughed a lot at his sons. His sons made me chuckle.
Ah.
People are upset about the beginning, the first few minutes,
Where he kills his wife.
where the wife is. Okay, you just told the entire podcast where they kill off his wife.
I thought it
Julie
was
Bowen.
funny.
I thought it was funny that she took an errant shot to the head by her own husband and died. It was. I didn't think the death itself was funny. I thought that moment. Was funny.
My favorite part, I think it's the dad of daughter thing, but I love the fact that his real life daughters
Yeah.
were in that movie and had really significant roles. And he actually made his two daughters, they were the heroes of the movie. They like,
Yeah, the one who was in the AA meetings with him.
and she was the hero of the movie. And then his other daughter, she was his motivation for
Did
everything
you
he
watch
wanted
the
to do
other movie with
positively.
his daughters about like the girls going to Jewish school?
I couldn't make it through that one.
Yeah, that one was
Yeah,
that one was
that one
really
I
bad.
couldn't make it through.
really bad. Anywho, it was yeah. I thought they were great. I thought, hey, finally, I feel like post COVID, we have a summer of good movies.
Yeah.
We really do. I feel like we have good like reasons to actually I want to go to a theater, and I never do.
I was looking what new movie is coming out this weekend because I'm back in town,
Yeah.
and nothing other than a scary movie that looks really dumb.
I will say I am concerned about Pedro Pascal as a human.
Why?
He seems to be a little touchy, like physically. Like, did you ever notice how in every cameo he has, he's touching his co-star, rubbing her arm or something? I don't know.
He's Latin, Tony.
No, my Latin David doesn't do that to me. Well, actually, David does.
That's what I'm saying.
Actually, David
he's
does.
Latin.
Unsolicited. Okay, so I want to share a quick story with you or with our audience. I love a good old prophetic word. I love receiving a word of knowledge. It really encourages me.
You're really gonna go here?
We're going to go there. But I also think there are moments
Where we should go back
sometimes-
to Old Testament stoning for false prophets?
sometimes you might have just had a bad burrito the night before and it didn't sit well.
I like to say you ate too much pepperoni pizza the night before.
You should have. Yeah, anyways. You and I were out of church recently where a gal in context, it was like an open Q&A thing with you, and a gal had a word of knowledge for you
And everybody that was traveling
and
to the
everyone that
church
was
with me,
traveling with you
including you.
and me. I was asked to go with you just as like, hey, will you come hang out? Said, would love to hang out with you. Love to hang out with you. Let's do it. I go and I help pass the mic around in the room as people are asking questions. I'm just the guy who's passing the mic around. That's it. And this woman gets up, says, I have something to say, and it's from the Lord. And I watch Brandon's half smile begin to appear. Like, let's see what happens
See
here.
how this goes.
And she's kind of in tears and she's fighting back and she keeps saying, I don't want to have to say this. And part of it, she does preface, part of this is me saying this. Okay, well, you just completely canceled whatever word of knowledge you had for us. And then she points at Brandon. She points Brandon Beals in the face and goes, Brandon. And then the other people with us.
Well,
and
she
you,
said all of your names.
and she says our names, and you, and then she goes, and I'm standing behind her, and she goes, and you, Tony, have a rebellious spirit, and the Lord says, holy retribution is coming your way.
within a week.
Holy retribution. And this was Brandon's reaction. He goes, okay, thank you. That's all you said.
Well, I said, I don't have anything to say to that.
Yeah.
And then I said, Tony, go to the next person.
She grabbed the mic out of my hand, by the way. She didn't ask for it. She grabbed it out of my hand. And then she says this prophetic word and walks away. Can I tell you what happened the next 24 hours after that?
You experienced holy retribution?
It was the worst 24 hours of my life since, I don't know.
You got stranded because of the Alaska Airlines plane cancellations.
My
on
flight is
Sunday night.
canceled. Sitting on the plane for 3 hours for what was a 37-minute flight. I'm sitting there. I got bumped to first class for the first time ever in my life. Didn't get to experience it.
You got to sit on the tarmac in first
Started
class.
on the tarmac next to a gentleman who he was telling me about how he's a pastor and he started a campus, and I'm like listening, and I cued in, this is a cult. So for 2 hours, we talked about the cult that he's a part of. We did that. Plane gets canceled. We have to deboard the plane. There's nowhere to sleep that night. We are in the middle of nowhere. There is no Uber. There is no food. On top of all that, PB, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to tell the whole audience, I don't care. My tummy was not sitting well. And for 24 hours, I had to use the bathroom every 30 minutes.
So, and the whole time for you are actually feeling like holy retribution has come down upon you.
We then wake up, found a rental car, hit the road at 8 a.m., a black crow flies into our car, gets hit, and dies. And then is glued to the car for the 4-hour drive.
Well, you forgot about the fact that you guys got a rental car, drove 5 minutes out of town, and the car broke down. You had to turn back in, get a new one.
I'm just saying. And then I came home, and my children were feral, like not wearing clothing and screaming. And I literally thought, I rebuke that woman. I rebuke her for what she said to us. And then we were fine after. It was fine.
Let me be really clear. People sometimes say things out of emotion. And I am going to say that woman was not speaking for Jesus. I'm sad that she said she was, because it is confusing to other people. But pretty much everyone in the room everybody in the room knew what it was. But she was speaking out of emotion. So we are not saying anything other than every church has that person.
Yeah, thus saith the Lord.
Has the person that is feeling something, but knows nobody's going to listen, so they tie in the Jesus part to it and then speak it out. I will say this, that I had a great drive, other than I got a rock chip in my window.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So that was my holy retribution.
Okay. I was trying to hold back so that I didn't destroy the leather interior of that Nissan Altima.
The best part about the whole prophetic word that everybody gets lumped into was honestly poor little John Plotner, sweet board member John, just sitting in the front row with his white flowing hair, just nice to everybody, and he gets lumped in. You get lumped in as the mic guy.
I swear to God, I thought it was because I'm Palestinian.
And I got asked afterwards by the pastor of the church was like, I'm so sorry, Brandon. I'm so sorry that happened. And I was like, hey, I'm sure I've been rebellious at some point in my life. So
She wasn't wrong. We've been rebellious.
Well, she was completely wrong about there being any rebellion on our part that had anything to do with that weekend.
She's right.
She was about as off the rails as a human being could be. But let me just sum it up this way. Every church has the crazy lady.
Not mine. They ain't allowed. No thanks. No thanks.
You might be married to the crazy lady.
I know I am. Hey, I want to have a debate. Let's do it at the end of the pod of my really controversial
The
Facebook
In-N-Out
post.
versus Dick's.
Yes.
Drive-In.
Very controversial
I have
Facebook
to say
post.
Dick's Drive-In for all of
You
our
have
out-of-state
to. You
listeners.
cannot say
That
Dick's.
whenever I say I like Dick's, they
Cannot.
have impure minds.
They do, and we can't. So let's have that debate at the end because we do have someone from the Pacific Northwest with us who could. Have you had both?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this is going to be good to have.
Okay, introduce our guest.
All right, folks. We have a guest today with us, Ivars.
Hey,
How do you pronounce your last name?
Uckun.
Say it, Tony.
Uckun.
Not bad.
I could do a little Turkish. I could throw down.
Merhaba.
Marhaba.
So I met Ivars at a pastor's gathering that we get together once a month, and I met him at that, and he started sharing his testimony, and I was so moved by his testimony that I thought I would love our listeners to hear it, in particular because we all know someone or we're praying for someone who comes from a Muslim background. And he has a really powerful testimony about how he encountered Jesus, found Jesus, and we're excited for you to hear about it today.
Ivars, tell us a little bit about you, man.
What do you do now?
I work for an organization. We're a Christian nonprofit called the Almeida Initiative. We facilitate friendship and worldview conversations between Christians and Muslims. We do iftar dinners in churches where we invite Christians and Muslims to have a meal. Over their holiday, we have events all throughout the year, like barbecues and gatherings in coffee shops and stuff like that. We do church education, where we go into churches and we do like a 2-part seminar. It takes about 3 hours, where we teach about the foundations of Islam, how a Muslim acquires their worldview, and then what are some like ways that that specific church can do outreach to Muslims in their neighborhood. So what's the best way to meet them, how to talk to them without being a noob, just conversations based in friendship.
Tell us about your family.
I have 6 kids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What are the age range?
16 to 9. I had twins twice. I didn't have them. My wife had them.
So are your kids ever all at the same time feral, running around the house naked like Tony's kids?
That's every day, I feel like.
Thank you.
I mean, I have teenagers now, so 3 of them are in their rooms all the time, and the other 3 are, like kind of have the run of the roost right now.
Do you have any junior hires yet?
Yeah.
Hey, do they smell?
They're all awful. I gotta be honest with you. You gotta force them to take showers every day, and my oldest is like a machine. He's so disciplined, and he's a football player. He wants to be in the NFL. He's all about it. And the rest of them are all like the opposite, right? Like they're just disengaged from responsibility and routine and stuff like that. So you gotta stay on top of them.
Cool. Tell us about your background growing up.
So I was raised Muslim. I was born in Turkey in 1974. In the 70s, the Soviet Union was trying to destabilize the Turkish government. They were sending Marxist ideology and drugs and weapons to the young people. So they're trying to, start a revolution. And my father, who was an Afghan refugee, so he left Afghanistan because he was a political activist. The king of Afghanistan, who was a guy named Zahir Shah, and some of you might remember who that name from post 9/11, because that's who America tried to put back in power initially before they formed the Karzai government. And he got chased out. He was an Uzbek, so there are different ethnic groups inside of Afghanistan. Uzbeks are more the northern people, and he wanted more rights and more independence for his people, which essentially got a price on his head. So people were, looking for him to kill him. So in the middle of the night, him, 2 of his friends, and a child he had adopted actually left. They walked over the mountains of Pakistan into Islamabad, and then they tried to get asylum, and then it didn't work there. So my dad and his friends bribed somebody to get them on a bus into Iran, and they tried the same thing there, and then eventually they bribed somebody to get them into Turkey. Now, my father, being an Uzbek, is part of this thing called Turk Dünyası, right? It's the Turkish world. The expanse of the Ottoman Empire is considered by Turks today as like, okay, so if you meet somebody from Uzbekistan, for instance, they're like, oh, we're cousins, right? Like we're close. So because of that, he was able to get his paperwork, and his refugee status. And then he was a teacher, so he met my mom, who helped him with his Turkish and all this paperwork and everything else like that. And he became a Turkish citizen. They got married. They had 4 boys. I am the youngest. And that right after I was born. I think I was just over 40 days old when we left and came to America. And we settled in Trenton, New Jersey, where, my name is Ivars Uckun, right? And I grew up around, Italian and Puerto Rican Catholics and Haitian Catholics. So, like, there was this sense of going through the years and feeling alienated, right? Because we were Muslims. We sat on the floor and ate. The nice carpet was on the wall. You weren't allowed to like sit at the table because it was too nice. That's just a grandma thing. And over the years, it just became clear that there was like a dividing line, right? Like I was, I had friends, but not at Christmas time. I had friends, but not on certain holidays.
Not on Easter.
Right, and not on Sunday, So it became just this big and widening gulf, I would say. And I think the word that I'd like to focus in on is alienation. Like I felt very alienated over time. And, not having your own people, right? Like we were the only Muslims. There were no Turks around. There were no Afghans around. If we wanted to come into contact with those communities, we'd have to like go up for the weekend into Brooklyn, which is where we landed.
And so during this time, is your dad teaching?
No, my dad, right before he left, was working for ExxonMobil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, as a lab tech, and then he got the same job in Pennington, New Jersey. So, yeah, I mean, he was smart. He knew his stuff. He wrote poetry. He wrote his stuff is still being taught in Turkish universities today. Turkish television did a documentary about him. So, he had a big voice, right, and a platform. And I think that's where I started to come into most contact with Islam, because people knew who he was and they started to follow him. People would come to the places that he would speak at, and they would read the things that he wrote, and they would be like these long parties, right? Like a Middle Eastern party can last days,
Yeah.
And they would invite people over for the weekend, and my mom would be taking care of them and getting them food and cooking, and my dad would be, busy holding court.
So you would say your family, like oftentimes all we see in the news is radicalized Muslims. You guys weren't radicalized Muslims. You were just, that was your faith.
So prior to the fall of Iran, right, the Iranian Revolution, a lot of the Muslim world was like that. So if you go back and look for clips of Egyptian politicians in the 50s, or 60s, it's black and white, and the president of Egypt is laughing about hijabs on women, that changed in 79. So the Islamic world became more and more radicalized. And my father was part of that old world, right? Moving away from this idea of, hardcore Islam, I guess you would call it. So no, we weren't that. I didn't go to mosque. My dad wanted me to come to those conclusions myself. It was certainly part of everything we were. I mean, we didn't eat pork. We didn't do anything obviously on holidays. When we lived out our daily day-to-day lives, we were Turkish Muslims living in New Jersey.
Were you, just growing up, were you cognizantly aware, I'm a Muslim and these are my Catholic Christian friends and we're different? Were you aware of that, or did you discover that later as you were older?
My best friend was Puerto Rican.
Okay.
And he lived 2 doors down. And my other best friend was Haitian, and he also lived 2 doors down. We lived in these row houses in Trenton. And I'd go over their house and they'd start cooking dinner, and it was time for me to leave, right? Because it was all pork chops, stuff like that, bacon. And then you would be like, no, I can't eat that. And they would say, why, right? So you'd have to explain yourself as so.
Is there a place in America, like a city, where most Turkish Muslims are located right now? Is it because Dearborn has huge Arab population.
Dearborn has a lot of Arabs. I would say it's Patterson, New Jersey.
Really? That's where a lot of the Turks are?
I mean, there are a lot of Turks there. It's there's a Turkish dish called lahmacun.
Yeah.
And it's just like these flat, Turkish pizzas, right? With, they're delicious.
Turkish food, by the way, is the greatest cuisine on the planet. Because it takes the best of the Arab world and a little bit of the European influence.
Yep.
The kebab, the shawarma. It's the best. It's the best food on the planet.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It is.
I'm a little biased, but yeah.
Oh, 100%. That's all I can eat.
I'm
for the rest of
from
my life.
a place called Adana, like the Adana province. I was born in a city called Mersin, and they have their own kebab, Adana kebab, and I'm sold out for Adana kebab. I think it's the best
We just
kebab
don't have
ever.
any good Arabic, Middle Eastern food out here.
Yeah, I
Or
mean,
Turkish.
there's a couple places, but
Yeah.
they're all pricey. Everything is. Come over, guys.
Yeah.
I'm a closet cook. So.
So are you into tea too? Because you
Yeah.
asked for coffee today, not tea.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm an American in that sense, right? Like I used to work at a Wawa. Do you guys know what Wawa is?
Is that the gas station?
Yeah,
Kind of like
and
Buc-ee's?
Yeah,
Kinda?
kinda.
People love that.
Yeah.
It's got like a cult following.
I'm flying to Gettysburg tomorrow to go to a missions conference on the Middle East, and I can't wait to hit a Wawa. So
To help us understand, so you grew up in Jersey. You're in this Muslim home in Jersey. When did you become a Christian, and how did that happen?
So my break with Islam actually happened over, one of these instances where it was more like a catalyzing moment, where you have a realization. My dad had invited all of these people over to our house, right? And they stay for the weekend. And again, my mom's doing all the work and the cooking and the cleaning and everything. And, they went to go pray, right? So they pulled all the rugs out and they're all praying. And then they get up from prayer, and my mom starts bringing them tea.
Yep.
Right. And, she's taking care of them. She did not speak Farsi. So she spoke only Turkish. My father spoke Farsi and Arabic, and, he spoke Dari and Pashto, like just a bunch of different languages. And my mom wasn't like that. She was just like born in a small country area in Turkey. So, my Farsi is horrible, but I know enough to know that they were making fun of my mom. This woman who's like, bending over backwards, serving them, right? Like taking care of them, bringing them food, like cooking for hours, cleaning for hours. My dad was a Middle Eastern man. It wasn't like he was sitting there doing the dishes or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it was all on her, and they start making fun of her. So she walks out, and I watch them just kind of like tearing her apart, because she didn't understand their language. And I think that for me was like a moment where I came to a realization. I'm like, this is everything that's wrong with Islam. I have encountered this time and time again, where you run into this kind of hypocrisy. There is an outward form of religion, right? The Bible talks about like an outward form of religion, but it lacks power.
Yep.
So it seemed like to me there was this huge disconnect with what they were saying and who they were trying to be and what they were actually doing. And I find that that's the case with most Muslims anyway, because Muslims more like watch what you do, particularly when you're a Christian. They watch your example. So for me, I saw this, and I'm from New Jersey. You don't talk about my mama. That's it. I was done with them. And I think I started to realize, like, this is what I don't like about Islam.
How old were you in this?
I was about 13.
Okay.
So I started to gravitate away from those things, and I tried to find my own people, I decided I wanted to be an American. That's it. I'm just an American. I don't have anything to do with all of this Islamic stuff before, because, Tony, you're from the Middle East, right? Like Islam and your nationality are like, they're like this. They're just completely
inseparable.
Right, inseparable. Yes. So I just decided I was going to be an American kid. I started playing sports. I lettered in 2 sports. I was a wrestler and a football player. And my plan was to, try and walk on at a small college in upstate Pennsylvania. But my senior year, I was academically ineligible because of a scheduling error. So my parents were not able to fix that. They didn't have the wherewithal to fix it. They didn't see, the need for them to do it. The school wouldn't fix it. So I essentially lost all of my people. And I mean, if you're ever like a parent to teenagers, that's the worst thing that can happen to a teenager. Like, they lose all of their friends. So what I did was I started looking for who was left. I graduated in the top third of my class, and all of those people went to college. So I lost my smart friends, I lost my jock friends, and all that was left was these burnouts. So Trenton, New Jersey is a rough town.
Is that how you met Matt Rosenberg then?
Yeah, that's it. That's
going to
it.
the burnout friend, huh?
Yeah. It was him and the Orthodox gang. They called them the Hebrews. And long story short, I just started doing drugs. I started hanging out with who was left. I'm a musician. I play 3 different instruments. I started hanging out with all of the people who did that. And really, the only requirement for being in that group, with burnouts, was you had to do drugs, right? That's like the sacrament. That's how you connect with people. So I started doing drugs. I started smoking pot, and that turned into other drugs. I started experimenting with LSD, cocaine. I've really done, I think, every drug except for heroin and meth. And that went on for about 7 years.
Wow.
So from the time I was about 16 till I was about 23 years old. And, if anyone understands this, there are consequences to that lifestyle, right? Like, I was fully functional. I had a job. I worked for Princeton University as a maintenance painter. I showed up every day. I'd come in high or hungover or whatever, but I was functional. But was living this kind of separate life at the end. And then, in the end, there are consequences to that. So I wound up getting arrested. And my moment of truth happened where I was handcuffed to a bench in the Trenton City lockup. Now, when they say you're handcuffed to a bench, I mean, in the movies they do it like this, right? Like they handcuff you behind your arms. They literally handcuffed me to the bench. And they put me next to a transvestite prostitute wearing a blonde wig who was making suggestive overtures towards me. And I was so high, and I just remember thinking, oh God,
This is where I'm at.
how did I get here?
Yeah.
Right? So that's when I tell people, that's when I started calling upon the name of the Lord. So I just remember being like, God, get me out of here. So I thought I was going to wind up in a cell with that guy, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if we were going to fight. I don't know what was going on, but thankfully they put me in a cell, and I slept it off. I had my hearing the next morning, and I remember walking out of the police station thinking, God, I can't stop. I didn't have the discipline to be able to stop doing what I was doing. I knew it had to stop. I feel like if I had kept going down that path, I'd probably be dead, because I would have gotten my hands on drugs that would probably have killed me. And I think I probably would have enjoyed them a lot.
What was there that even made you think to pray to God?
I had these strange experiences, from the time I was a child. So when I was really young, I had a dream with Jesus in it. But I went to a Catholic school, which is a funny part of the story. It was right across the street from my parents' store, where we learned all about Jesus on the cross. I mean, you'd go into the church, and it would have this huge guy up there, nailed to it. So it was a central part of that education. And then I would go home and I would tell my parents about, what I learned at school, and they would deprogram me, right? So as far as understanding that there was a God, that was instilled in me really strong when I was young. And I find that when you enter into times of crisis, and it doesn't matter if you're Christian or Muslim or Hindu or whatever, you go back to your origin point of faith. You go back to where you started. So you start, trying to, people do this a lot with children. When they have kids, they're like, how am I going to raise these kids?
You get them in church.
We should go back to church.
Yeah, we should go back to church. So, for me, there was this fundamental thing where I realized that I had been looking for something.
What I find really interesting is I read the book years ago, Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus.
Yeah, Nabil
exceptional book.
He's great.
And he tells the story about literally having a dream of Jesus. growing up as a Muslim. And I hear that from people all the time that convert from Islam to Christianity, being a Muslim to a follower of Jesus, that, Jesus shows up like he did to you in a dream, in a vision, in an encounter. It's very dramatic.
Right.
And I think the thing that I love the most about it is it's just that constant reminder of the lengths that Jesus will go to get our attention.
Right.
And the fact that you have this dream and it sealed something in your heart, you're in jail as a 23-year-old and you cry out to that person you had the dream of when you were a kid.
Right.
I just think that is incredible.
So, we've had our friends on the podcast who are missionaries in Cairo. Their whole thing is they run a advertising company where if you see the man in white, there's advertisements all over the Middle East. If you see the man in white, email us.
Oh, I love that.
And that's how they lead people to Christ.
That's fantastic.
And they do it with the underground church and whatnot. It's beautiful. When you saw Jesus in your dreams, was he just the man in white? Did you see his face?
I mean, he was wearing white.
Yeah.
He was kind of floating.
Yeah.
And he had hands. His hands were pierced.
Mm.
And his feet were pierced. And he was looking down. And when he looked up at me, it was like I thought I was dead.
Mm.
And then I woke up, That was when I was a kid. There were other moments along the way, particularly when, like, my mother would be sick. She's a diabetic. And, one time she wound up in the hospital and I got called at work. We worked in the same university. And they were like, come and, go to the hospital. Your mother's there. And I remember thinking, like, God, if you save my mom's life, I will stop drinking. And then she was fine. She got released that day. It was like a, huge turnaround for her. And then Friday night rolled around and I was like, I'm going to go out and drink, right? I'm going to go hang out with my friends. And I just felt this little like pull on me that was saying, didn't you tell God that you would stop drinking if your mom was okay? And I remember thinking, nah, that's nothing, And I lived my life that way for a long time. I started to, after I walked out of there, I started to like examine all the world faiths. So I realized I needed to know what I believed. I studied, books on comparative religion, world religions. I studied about, Asian religions, right? And I realized at one point I had created my own religion that I call transcendental pharmaceuticalism. So
say it again.
Transcendental
pharmaceuticalism.
Yeah. Where, like the tattoo is there's a yin yang, right? And that there's energy. And it's a horrible tattoo, by the way.
It tells a great story, though.
Yeah, there's light and darkness and light, and all energy comes from somewhere, so it must be the sun, right?
Funny.
And slowly but surely, I realized I didn't believe in any of that stuff. I didn't believe in praying to your ancestors. I didn't believe in, like energy forces. What was I talking to in that jail cell? Like, what was I crying out to? And, I came to my dad, and I had this moment where I just came clean to him. I told him everything. Like, I'm in legal trouble. I've been living my life this way. And he knew, that I was doing drugs and stuff like that. He obviously hated it. And I explained to him, where I was at. But I started asking him questions about God. I'm like, I need you to explain who God is. And this is all the stuff that I've been studying. And he said, he knew a lot about the Quran, right? He had memorized like large chunks of it. Most Muslims, they memorize pieces of it and recite it out loud for spiritual blessings. But his answer to me was, I'm not a scholar, so I'm not going to answer your question. But I know people who can train you to become an imam. And I said, this is great. This is exactly what I need, right? Like, Islam will give me structure. Islam, obviously can't do drugs. It'll answer all my questions, and it'll
No
give
more
me,
alcohol?
Yeah, no more alcohol, right? Like, I'll have to be away from all those things. So that was the plan. I was going to do that. And he was, in the midst of setting all that up. But then one day I'm going to write a book, and it's going to be called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Mosque, where I got introduced to a friend. I was working with my singer. Like, my backup plan was I was working with the singer, and we were just trying to write like Stone Temple Pilots-y, Pearl Jam-y kind of music. He was safe. He didn't do drugs. He just drank. So we could work together. And his girlfriend introduced me to her best friend from high school, and they hadn't seen each other in years. And that girl was a Christian. And they thought, let's just set them up, So we were out at a bar one night, and I offered to buy her a beer. And she said, I don't drink. I'm not a Christian. And listen, obviously, that's not an indictment on Christianity and drinking or anything like that. I have to put that disclaimer out there because sometimes people, when I tell this story, are like, well, drinking's bad. Why did you do that? She did the right thing, but obviously I don't believe that. And she said, I don't drink because I'm a Christian. I was like, well, can you explain that to me? Can you tell me what that means? And then she started to, and listen, I don't remember what she was talking about. In Star Wars, when they're looking out the window of the Millennium Falcon, and then they go into hyperspace, and then just everything's like that. And I felt like I was in this hyperspace tunnel, where every word she was saying was alive.
Yeah.
And I didn't talk to her for a month after that. But
she wasn't just regurgitating something she'd memorized,
right?
But she was telling you something that she believed and had experienced. It was real,
right? So I didn't see her for a month, and then a month went by, and I kept on thinking about that conversation. We met up at my friend's house, and I was just afterward in the parking lot. I was like, "Do you want to go out on a date? We can talk more." And she said, "Well, I won't go out on a date, but you can go to church with me." So
Smart girl.
I
like her.
She showed up that weekend with chaperones. I'd never been in anything like that before. And we got in the car, and that church wound up being a Messianic synagogue in Philadelphia called Beth Yeshua. It was about an hour and a half away. And I walk in, and it's crazy, right? Because this is like a very charismatic congregation. They're blowing shofars, they're wearing kippahs and talits, and this one is a very dance-centric, so they do Israeli
Pastor Brandon
dancing.
would love that.
Yeah. So
Loves
much
to
dance.
dance.
You would love it. You would love it. My wife's actually pretty good at it. But I just thought this is cool. All the music's in a minor key. It's a cultural experience, all of this stuff. And then the music died, and I just sat there, and I was just literally looking at the carpet, wondering if we were going to go to the diner after. It's 1997. I didn't have a cell phone. And I don't remember what the rabbi was talking about. But in the middle of it, he said this line. He said, Saddam wants to destroy Tel Aviv, but Yeshua won't let him do that. Now, in the 90s, 97, post-Gulf War, Saddam was launching Scuds into Tel Aviv, and I knew all about that, right? We all knew all about that. And I just looked at the floor and I said, who's Yeshua? And at that moment, the lights were off in the room, but I felt like they were on around me. And I felt this thick, powerful presence draw so close to me that I didn't dare to lift up my head. I felt like if I had lifted up my head, I would have seen feet. And he said, I'm Yeshua. And I knew that this was God. I knew that this was the God that I was looking for. That was who I was talking to in the jail cell. That's who I was talking to all those years ago.
Yeah, it's who you had that
with my
dream
mom.
about.
Right, it's who I had a dream about. And then I didn't say anything. I didn't know what to say, so I just said, I'm coming, because I had been looking for answers, and I found them. There was no altar call. There wasn't anything like that. And then after the service, their young people kind of came around us and were asking us where we were from, and they told me about a Messianic synagogue closer to my home. So 2 weeks later, I went there, and I wound up staying for 15 years.
Is that where you met Matt?
Yeah,
Matt?
so Matt's uncle was the rabbi of that congregation. I eventually became the youth leader, and Matt was, at one point his dad's youth leader.
Wow.
So we used to do events together and all that other stuff.
Oh.
I stayed for 15 years. The girl left after 6 months. But I was the only person under 30 in that congregation for a very long time. But I just never felt like the Lord allowed me to leave. And, that was where I learned what being a man of God is like. Like, Matt's uncle was like, they took me in. I always joke with people, like, I was discipled by, Messianic Orthodox rabbis, right? Like,
The thing I love so much about your story is it coincides so well with what we're talking about here right now at church. We're doing this series called God Problems, where we're answering questions that we get asked. And this Sunday was an extra Sunday, so we had an extra week, and so I added an extra question that all of our campus pastors will be answering. And the question is, how does God see me? In other words, does God value me? What type of value does God have in me? And I decided to teach on the parable of the sheep, where Jesus left the 99 and he chased after the one. And that's in Luke and it's in Matthew. And if you really understand what Jesus was doing there, that like he left the 99 and was chasing after you. And he chased after you for 20 years before you surrendered your life to him. And that just shows you, I mean, how does Jesus see you? He sees you and he values you that much that he went to those extreme lengths to reveal himself to you so that you would have an opportunity to give your life to him and serve him with your life. I just think that, like, people ever wonder, how does God see you? How does God value you? He will go to the most extraordinary lengths to give you an opportunity to serve him.
I mean, I think the craziest part about my story is that I had already committed my life to a religion that was contrary to who he actually was, right? Like, I lived in that religion my entire life, and then I ran away from him and I lived this kind of crazy hedonistic lifestyle. And then I had recommitted myself to that religion that was not who he was. He's not in that religion as the Son of God. Like, they acknowledge him as being a prophet, but they don't acknowledge him as being God. And I was, fixated on moving forward in that. And he orchestrated my entire life so that he would reveal himself to me in, like, of all places, a Messianic synagogue.
And it's a great reminder to everybody, because I think one of the things we wrestle with as people, that when we become second, third, fourth generation Christians, is we falsely believe that Jesus loves us more. Like, we start thinking like, oh, Muslims or the hardcore liberal left, that Jesus doesn't love, we're his chosen. And we believe this. And when you understand that he left the 99 to chase after the one, if there's ever a moment where you realize that Jesus considers everyone as sheep, that he loves the saved, the unsaved, he loves those that are totally for him, those that are opposed to him. He loves those that grew up in church, those that are pursuing becoming an imam. He loves everybody the same, and he wants everyone in relationship with him. I think it's a great reminder that we, as followers of Jesus, we should be praying that we would love these people that we disagree with, that maybe the media tells us we should be opposed to, that Jesus loves those people as much as he does us, and we should start seeing those people maybe the way that he does.
I would completely agree. I mean, I think that the thing about Islam in particular, that it just feels like kind of like a cold, unapproachable thing, right? The analogy I give people is from 2001: A Space Odyssey. I know it's an older movie, but there's this obelisk that appears, and there's a bunch of monkeys like kind of going back and forth, and they're afraid to touch it and they're afraid to interact with it, and then they start interacting with it, and then they change, right? Like, they're no longer a dying species, and I feel like people, particularly Christians, look at Islam the same way. It's like, it's cold, it's foreboding, it's closed. It doesn't really feel welcoming to me. I don't really understand it.
It's us versus them.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, definitely, even if you're like,
and vice versa, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and listen, there's an element of opposition in those things, but those are set up in the heavenly powers, right? Like, I'm not trying to over spiritualize it or anything like that, but there is a spiritual conflict going on in this world. And, a lot of that right now is centering around Islam, because, you can see it all over the world, right? Like, what's happening in Syria, what's happened in Iraq in the past, Islamic revolutions and those things. But I think it's because of those things that we have to double down on the love of God. We have to double down on loving our neighbor. We have to double down on taking a step outside of our comfort zone and saying, how can I interact with these people that haven't been reached? This thing that looks cold and foreboding. And I'll tell you the truth, once you actually take a step outside of that, that sense of being like it's closed off, you'll be surprised what you hit. You'll meet like normal people.
People that might be listening to this, we're going to have to bring you back to go more in depth on this, but people that are listening that are thinking, you're right, I should understand this more. Do you have any books that you would encourage them to read, or are there podcasts that can help people like maybe ideologically bridge this gap in their head that they've been struggling with? What would you recommend?
Okay, so am I allowed to do a plug? Because
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not doing it because I'm about plugs. The point is, I believe in our content. We have a YouTube channel. We are the Almeida Initiative. The easiest way to get to the podcast is to go to the URL muslimsandjesus.com. That'll take you to the Almeida Initiative's webpage, and then the podcasts are right there. Because Almeida, typing it out and everything else like that. The work that we do in producing content. So we have like kind of three main things that we do on our YouTube page. The first one is called the Almeida Podcast, where we have Muslims on to talk about what's going on in the Muslim world, like various aspects of it. Maybe it's Islamic history, maybe it's how to be a Muslim businessman, right? But it's a conversation facilitated by a Christian. The other thing we have, which is the podcast that I'm on, is called Christ and Caliphate, where we talk about Christian responses to things that happen in the Islamic world. So, we did a podcast on the elections in Turkey not too long ago, or we went, actually the one I'm most proud of is we went to the protests at UW. And interacted with like the Muslims that were there, and the progressives that were there, and the communists that were there, and that's actually a really interesting intersection point, right, that we're seeing in politics today. So we talk about that kind of thing. We talked about like what happened in Syria over the last couple of weeks, and then the other thing we do is this thing called Ask Almeida, where Muslims ask us questions. And we do like a 10-minute video that answers their questions about Christianity. Like, why don't Christian women wear hijabs? Why do Christians eat pork? That kind of stuff. And we also have, we just did it. We put our basic like 101 training up on the page. So, you can see what like we teach as far as basic foundation of Islam and how a Muslim acquires their worldview. I like our webpage, and that'll lead you to others like it.
Dallas, can we get these?
Yeah, I pulled up the webpage. It's very easy to surf around. Again, we'll have the link in the show notes to Muslims and Jesus. But Ivars, thank you for your time. We are going to have to bring you back when we can kind of continue this discussion even more. But Tony's going to ask you some totally cheesy questions. Can you do that?
Let's do it.
So we ask every guest 3 simple questions, and he responds truthfully, however they desire. You ready? Number 1, what are you listening to? Like, so podcasts or music, like what do you love to listen to? Number 2 is what are you currently like watching? Do you have like a show that you're super into? And then number 3 is what are you reading for fun?
Okay.
So what are you listening to?
So I'm a musician. And I'm in a band called Ezekiel's Bones. We play in, bars and coffee houses and all that other stuff around here. It's
Ezekiel's Bones.
Yeah. We were the worship team at Matt's Synagogue when I still went there. So yeah, Shauna, the worship leader, and a couple of us, we go out and we like playing stuff.
If you ever start another Christian band, can I give you a name idea?
What's that?
Fed by Raven.
Fed by Raven. Oh, I like that.
I'm waiting for someone to name their band
like
Fed
that's
by
the
Raven.
As long as the vocalist is Elijah, then you're good.
That's the metal band.
Yeah, that's sick. Okay. Is your music on
So,
Spotify?
No,
Okay.
because musicians are like herding, cats or squirrels or whatever you want to do it. So we're working towards that. We actually, in the last 2 years, lost our drummer and our guitar player. Our guitar player died of cancer. So we had to like reform the band and see if it was going to
I got a drummer right here.
Here's the drummer.
Yeah. We're good. We just found somebody. But
sorry,
you
dude.
know, you gotta be
the
old,
next drummer
you
quit.
gotta be old enough to play in a bar. So
Yeah.
And I just recently discovered a guy named Garrett Cole
Mm-hmm.
who does like kind of smoky electric blues music. I like that stuff.
It's awesome.
Do you like Taylor Swift?
You know what? I kind of went through like I hate her, period. But then I listened to, I can't remember, like one of the songs came up on my feed, and I was like, it's actually not a bad song. So it made me go, all right, some of the older stuff I could probably get into.
What about, do you like country music?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
never
Where's
coming
that,
back to this
Tony?
podcast with Ivars.
Okay.
I won't be here next time.
Okay, what do you like to watch?
I'm a sci-fi guy. So you guys were earlier talking about like Fantastic Four.
What did you think? Did you see it?
Oh, I loved it. I actually did think it was the best Marvel movie in a while. I have friends who say it's the best Marvel movie ever.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna out him. It's Matt.
I thought Thunderbolts was way
Next
better.
time we
I
all
thought
meet,
Thunderbolts was great.
Thunderbolts was amazing.
I'm gonna, on this podcast, I'm gonna take some time over the next month. We'll have an episode where I will talk through what I think are the 10 best Marvel movies.
Can rank them.
Because I started hearing
What
friends
are
say
the
this.
what are the 10 best Marvel movies and why is it Civil War?
Yeah. Yeah.
Civil War was amazing.
One of my favorite Marvel movies ever is I love Thor Ragnarok.
That was a great movie.
So Thor Ragnarok is by far better than Fantastic
Love and
Four, but-
Thunder.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what are you reading right now?
Yeah.
I read a lot of news. I do a lot of show prep.
Yeah.
So, I have to stay up on events that are happening and I read stuff from
That would probably help Tony and I if we did.
and you know what?
We don't believe in show prep.
Yeah, I mean,
I read the news. I just don't do show prep. Yeah.
my show, I mean, like, I have to stay engaged in the Muslim world.
Yep.
And, I kind of live in this space where there's like, I'm in the Venn diagram of Christianity and Islam and Judaism,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's kind of the stuff that I wind up, reading a lot about. So I'll write, current events in the church, right?
Yeah.
Like current events in the Islamic world. And, how that affects, like, obviously the stuff happening in Israel.
Yeah.
And how, what Jews are going through in America right now. So I read a lot of news. I listen to a lot of blogs, podcasts, and all that other stuff. I'm more of a clip guy. Like I find that when I go in and I try and listen to like a whole, 50-minute hour podcast.
So you're one of those guys that scrolls through reels.
Well, I am obviously, but I have 6 kids. So anytime I try to do anything that would take an hour, somebody's interrupting me. So I've just kind of, I don't know, maybe I gave up a little bit, but
It's kind of like having 30 employees.
yeah,
They're
I'm
like,
sure
I
it
have
is.
30 feral employees.
We're fully clothed, thank God. Except for David sometimes, but yeah.
I got to meet this David guy.
He just did. He was
Oh, yeah.
he
he
kept
was there.
He
Okay.
kept walking by back
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
He had his clothes on. though,
Lord
right?
knows what they were doing outside
Oh.
that window today, Tony. But
I saw people moving around in the background.
I don't know what are like. They're supposed to be figuring out stuff for the building. I don't know what
What are
is
they
back
doing outside?
there.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Just want to go on a field trip.
We're gonna finish off with our debate, right?
Okay, so Ivars, I've decided with Facebook, because it's mainly church people and high school friends, I will not post anything on there of actual meaning or purpose anymore.
Because he's learned the hard way 100 times. Tony doesn't figure it out the first time, second time, third time. It takes like 25
Anytime
times.
I say
but he's
something,
finally figured it out.
It's pretty confrontational. If I could say the sky is blue today, and someone's gonna be very disgruntled by
Well,
that.
you don't say the sky is blue. You say
I
the sky
say-
is blue because there's a war in Gaza.
I say Netanyahu's a menace and all this, and then it turns into you're not praying for the peace of Jerusalem. Okay, it doesn't matter. We're gonna veer into this for a moment. So I the other day did a debate, and I was baffled by the
I'm
responses.
sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I said, hey, by the way, I prefer Dick's Drive-In. Is Dick's Drive-In better than In-N-Out? And Ivars, it's like I offended about 1,200 people. It was the most responses I've ever had on a Facebook post ever, even more than when I've been super outspoken against Israel, their government, and all that. Okay, so it was like,
Yeah, but the thing is, you can have all these responses, and people in the end just think it's fun bantering.
It was fun bantering, and I'm leaning more into that camp now moving forward. And we're done kind of posting about all the other stuff for a while. So anywho, Dick's Drive-In or In-N-Out, which one do you prefer and why?
Oh man, that's hard. It's a hard question. I prefer In-N-Out, but I think for me, In-N-Out is more of a treat because I have to have it out of state, right? Like we don't have one here, so I have to be traveling, and it's like a special thing where I'll go, oh, let's go to In-N-Out. And listen, I'm eating it, and I know it's not the best thing ever, right? Like honestly, this is gonna like Five Guys, like 10 years ago, was the best burger.
Five Guys
you could just grab.
amazing.
Do you know who is the primary owner of Five Guys franchises in America now?
No, I don't.
Shaq.
Oh, really?
He owns like 170 Five Guys franchises.
Oh, wow. That's
It's
crazy.
a side note.
Yeah, he's got
Tony.
chicken place in Shoreline too.
Yeah, he's got
Big
one in
chicken.
Mukilteo.
Okay. Yeah, that's a tough question. I'm gonna go in the camp of In-N-Out. Their fries, though, I'm not all about their fries. I think their fries need some
The
work.
fries are weak. So
Yeah.
what was interesting about this debate, it's just In-N-Out and Dick's. I'm not
Right.
saying, tell
Throw
me,
in the little bougie burger places that
so
we know
people-
we're better.
People are like, oh, Pilchuck. Okay, we get it. Someone commented, I want to so badly say Dick's, but if I'm being honest, Whataburger tops it. And then one person commented, Whataburger in all caps. Good Lord, help my brother. He needs deliverance. Whataburger is a terrible. We went there in Texas. It's
Tony
like,
and
it's like
I,
Burger Master.
Tony
not
and I
good.
took a famous picture together at Whataburger, and Tony's comment is, "This is me with my compassion parents."
Anytime it's me, him, and Di somewhere, I go, my compassion sponsors and I for $38 a month.
So where does Wendy's fit? Like where do
Wendy's is goated. Wendy's is
like-
top of the top.
We don't-
It's amazing.
We don't include. This is my biggest argument for In-N-Out and Dick's
Let's go to
Drive-In.
Wendy's after this.
Is
I'm down.
I own a place in Vegas that's right next to an In-N-Out,
Yeah. Yep.
and I don't ever go there.
No.
I know that it's there. I don't ever go there. Maybe once every 4 or 5 times I'm in Vegas, I'll go there once. But I start thinking about going to Dick's Drive-In every week. I just think if you compare a Dick's Drive-In cheeseburger to a regular cheeseburger at In-N-Out, zero comparison.
That's fair enough. I think,
But I do like In-N-Out too. So.
I don't, anywho, it was highly debated. I don't think there is a clear answer.
I only post memes and reels.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
it.
I'm going to start doing it.
Yeah, I have my first Facebook profile taken away from me.
Oh, you're one of the guys that just post memes constantly?
all the time.
Are you one of the guys that like loves to send reels to all their friends on Instagram?
Yeah, they send them to me.
How old
People-
are you?
I'm 51.
Okay, it's pretty much the older people in the church that send me reels on a
Yeah.
regular basis.
Yeah.
The older people and Josh Anderson.
And
Well,
Dan Lane.
You know who sends them to me are the 20-year-olds. And my pastor friends, because I post stuff that they can't, because I'm obviously not in congregational ministry anymore. So if I put stuff out there, it won't be like, well, I'm not coming this
I want to
Saturday,
know, like, has he been sending you reels? He hasn't
No,
sent
we're
me
not.
reels.
Ivars and I, and I'll be honest, Ivars, I don't open reels people send me anymore.
I don't know.
You will send me one like every few
Well,
weeks.
because
and
they send you a Seinfeld one.
and it's like, oh, okay, this was actually really good. Yeah.
Well,
we'll
listen,
send each other.
I mean,
I send him Seinfeld ones and ones that say how awesome Gen X is.
oh, those are great.
Those ones are the
Listen,
worst.
if you know anything about this church, like I just walked onto the campus for the first time today, and these guys are busy. There's a whole addition going on. There's construction behind us, construction outside of us.
Random people walking by windows.
Multiple campuses. I mean, you're guys that I wouldn't expect to have time to open those things, much less sit there and be like, I'm gonna.
Well, we
sit there and
appreciate
look
that
for
because
stuff
most
back.
people don't give us that amount of
they
grace.
think we just lollygag and
I mean,
do
I
3-hour
I was
lunches.
Matt's assistant rabbi for 7 years.
yeah.
And I feel a kinship with you and some of the stuff you've had to go through as a and then I covered for him when he was on a sabbatical and any other time he had to go. So listen, congregational ministry is tough. It's tough. You have people getting born, you have people dying, you have people being sick, you have people
We just want people to stay married.
yeah, that's another
That
thing.
one.
So during COVID, that was like we had 3 marriages implode. We're a small congregation,
Yeah.
but 3 marriages implode in the first week.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, I have to spend every minute with you. I'm out. And unfortunately, like I'm getting to the age where a lot of my friends now are starting to get divorced, and they're Christians for years and stuff. So
it doesn't make any sense that later on in life, leaving your spouse makes zero sense to me, because every memory you have is connected to that person.
right.
And I
think believing that's like the grass is greener on the other side or something like that is it's craziness.
statistically,
You want autonomy, your
second
kids are out of the
marriage
house.
lasts half as long as your first marriage.
Right. Right.
Well,
Tony, wind
Ivars,
us down.
Thank
Thanks,
you, brother.
Ivars.
Seriously.
This was great.
Thank you for what you're doing for reaching Muslims. My heart aches for Muslims. A lot of my friends are Muslim, and I love Rabbi Matt. He's been a true friend the last year and a half. I've gotten to know him, and it's good to just finally get to meet you and continue that. And
He talks about you a lot.
does he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not good. And he has really become a friend. So thank you for being here. We'll bring you back at some point. I'd love to. And
Love to do it.
we're gonna attach the links to everything you'd mentioned in the show notes today. But really appreciate you being here. Hey, don't forget, give us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple. If you enjoyed it today, we appreciate it. If not, you can email morgan.b@ourventure.church all your critical thoughts. He will gladly read them and delete them. So, you ready? Send us out.
Hey, let's make Jesus famous. Raiders roll.
Raiders roll.
Amen.